Whoever has ears to hear, please listen. I am the very least and lowliest and the most unworthy servant of the only true God. Nevertheless, I perceive that I have been blessed with a very gracious calling, a very glorious privilege, and a very great obligation to record and share the following messages. This apparent inspiration was received late Monday night, February 24th, 2025. For the record, and as follows. The current president of the nation that is at this time the dominant world power and his so-called mega cult and his enablers in political offices, the media, other corporations, churches, or anywhere else have no fear of God, and he and they will feel the consequences because he and they claim to be believers and followers of Christ. So he and they have an obligation to learn and to know from what is clearly written in the scriptures that what he and they are saying and doing is evil and satanic. The following apparent inspiration was previously received and posted several weeks ago. For the record, and as follows. When the Apostle John became in awe after being given signs and explanations for the book of Revelation, he bowed down to worship the messenger angel that appeared to him. But the angel shouted, "Don't do that!" By contrast, King Herod Agrippa I gave a speech during which people in his audience compared him to a god, and he did not rebuke or even discourage them from comparing him to a god. So one of Jehovah God's angels struck King Herod, and he died an extraordinarily horrible and gruesome death. Fast forward to the 21st century, and during his first term, the current president of the nation that is at this time the dominant world power looked up into the sky while saying, "I am the chosen one." And he has a literal cult of followers, many if not most of whom profess that they are believers and followers of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And many of them presumptuously claim that God not only chose their cult leader, but will bless him to be the savior of the nation that is currently the dominant world power. Some of them even foolishly said their cult leader is God, not merely a God, like the aforementioned people raved about King Herod Agrippa I. Therefore, since there have not been very loud and very clear admonitions from that leader himself for his followers to cease making such detestably blasphemous claims and comparisons, the whole world should beware and be prepared to possibly witness the current president of the nation that is at this time the dominant world power to experience an end that is comparable to the end suffered by King Herod Agrippa I. And for the people who actually made such claims and comparisons to also suffer what may clearly be recognized as a form of divine retribution. And for this nation, the current biblical king of the South which is at this time the dominant world power, not to be saved by the current president and cult leader, nor to be made great by him in any way, but to struggle and suffer and eventually lose its position as the wealthiest and most powerful nation on earth, because its citizens allowed and chose him to be its leader. Again, even after his character as being extraordinarily corrupt, a pathological liar, a most brazen hypocrite and hate-monger, and a convicted felon and antichrist, was clearly and indisputably exposed, along with his extreme incompetence, to the extreme detriment of the fatherless children, the struggling widows and widowers, the elderly and disabled, the sick, the infirm, the impoverished, the alien residents, and so many others that Jehovah God, who they claim to believe in, and his Son, Jesus Christ, who they claim to be disciples and followers of, are especially concerned about, and require sincere believers and true Christians to assist, to care for if and when needed, like the biblical Good Samaritan, and to comfort as ambassadors substituting for Christ, all without expecting anything in return, and therefore storing up treasures in heaven. It is clearly written and extremely consequential. I have set this choice before you, life and happiness and good, or death and adversity and evil. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15.